1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you're in.
All right. That's remind me to sit up in here. I haven't been doing this in a while.
Just go ahead and sit there, and I'll get the camera set.
All right.
Um,
And that one's mine, I gather.
You'll be on that camera, but the two of us will be on this one too. So,
Okay. Is cam one both of us and cam two me? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And where can I see max one? Where will I be able to see that?
You'll see it. I'll punch it up on the monitor.
That'll work.
Does the clicker have enough? Does the clicker have enough range?
I haven't tested it. Can we test it?
I was gonna say, go ahead. Ow. All right.
What do you have up?
It moved. Yeah. Okay. Let me head back. See if it.
Should I have one up there or two? Do I want the key takeaways?
One.
Key takeaways?
Yes.
Okay.
One is the one. Okay.
Yeah. Just get you should be good. Okay, go ahead. Just talk for me so I can get a level for you.
Okay, we're doing the mic check
Hold on.
for. I don't have an IPM. Okay.
That's right. You'll be all right. All right,
Doing a
go
mic
ahead.
check for the Facebook Live. We're doing a Facebook Live talking about the winter weather. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so that's what I should start on, right?
Yeah, let me just go ahead and fill this map in here. I'll just follow your lead. And
Caitlin, should I see something in here?
how long do you want to go on this?
I don't know. We'll see. Well, good evening, everyone. From the WECT Digital Studio, I'm John Evans, in here with First Alert meteorologist Eric Davis. We are in here to talk about the storm that is headed toward southeastern North Carolina. Set to arrive. Well, I guess we'll start seeing some of our first impacts tomorrow afternoon, Eric. But we talked earlier in some of our newscasts that we have a winter weather advisory for parts of the area, and that's unusual. We haven't had one of these in a while, right?
It's been a very long time, and it's actually for parts of the area. It might be we have to kind of break this down and think of this system as it's going to be finally a rain producer, it looks like, for areas north of, for south of Wilmington, and then north of Wilmington. That's where you're going to have a little better chance of actually seeing some wintry precipitation, John.
So we have a lot of aspects to unpeel as we talk about this storm. Number one is the winter weather advisory you talked about, but let's give folks an idea of what we're expecting at this point in time. We're live on Facebook. We're live on the WECT News app and our website. You can send questions in on the Facebook Live. We'll try to get as many as we can answered with Eric here in the next 20 or 25 minutes. But Eric, just give us an idea of what we can expect with this storm and what you've talked about in our newscast.
Yeah, let's go ahead and pull up that graphic and we can take a look. Again, I think one of the key takeaways, this is not a bread and milk storm. Could we have some impacts? Yes, it's certainly possible, particularly in the winter weather advisory. By the way, the winter weather advisory encompasses Columbus County, Bladen County, Pender County. Runs from 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon through 7 a.m. on Saturday. That's going to be the window, it looks like, for any impacts. We're probably talking about a little bit of light icing or glazing. It's going to be freezing rain, likely, I think would be the problem issue. Could a few snowflakes fall? I think that's certainly possible. Even outside of the winter weather advisory, wouldn't be surprised if there are a few snowflakes or sleet pellets, but I don't think it's going to amount to much. I think it's that light icing we've really got to be concerned about. And you really want to consider altering your travel. I think you might need to think of tomorrow evening and tomorrow night as times not to travel. And you really don't want to travel outside of the area, because once you get outside of the area, particularly as you say head up towards the central North Carolina, places like Raleigh, Charlotte, Greensboro, and especially in the mountains, that's where you actually have winter storm warnings in effect. So stay with us. And of course, you can always check out the latest on the WECT weather app.
So this is what we're looking at as far as the conditions. First Alert Action Day. our weather team called for this storm. Go ahead and give us more, Eric.
And we just want to give you a sense of some of the different impacts that we're going to see. And of course, we definitely think freezing temperatures are possible. This is what's making the forecast so tricky. It looks like parts of the area are actually going to be at or even a little bit below the freezing mark. It's basically the winter weather advisory areas. Pender County, Bladen County, Columbus County have the best shot of seeing temperatures at or below the freezing mark. And you start to throw some rain into those areas, it could freeze on contact. That's the concern about some icing. Wintry precipitation, I think most of us are going to see some wintry precipitation. It may not stick. Might see a snowflake here in Wilmington. You might see a sleet pellet possibly in Charlotte. But again, it's not likely to stick in the areas outside of the winter weather advisory areas. If there's some good news with the system, there's not a lot of wind energy with the system, so I'm not really expecting a lot of power outages. And also with very light ice accumulations, that shouldn't be much of a problem either. But travel issues, yes, especially when you move north of Wilmington and Whiteville. That's where you could have some icy, at least some icy spots, and maybe walking around could be a little bit of a hazard as well.
Okay, this is what we're really interested in here, because we've already had several people in the Pender County area talk about Topsail Island, talk about Burgaw. We have some folks in here asking about White Lake, asking about Bolivia. Mm-hmm. You never can tell. Nothing is 100%.
Right.
But this I saw when you had this earlier tonight gives a good idea of where it's expected at this point in time.
Yeah, what we have here is what we call the freezing line, because that's really what's going to be critical here. I don't think we're talking about a lot of snow or a lot of sleet. I think that's pretty much out of the equation for southeastern North Carolina. But when rain falls into an area where the temperatures are below freezing, that's where icing could be a problem. Now, remember, tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock when we wake up, there's not going to be precipitation around, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Now, let's watch this line. You can see all three models, the line starts to move back towards the north. You can see the the light blue indicating the American model. The pink is the European computer model, and then we have another American model called the NAM thrown into the mix. So by the time we start to get some evaporative cooling, watch what's going to happen to the freezing line as we head towards tomorrow evening. This is about the time precipitation starts. And notice it's Wilmington and points to the north where we're going to be hovering right around that freezing mark. So this is when we may start to see some of the freezing rain, particularly say around 6, 7 p.m. tomorrow. But watch what happens to the freezing line once the initial precipitation starts. It starts to drift a little bit further to the north here as we head towards midnight. Notice it starts to move a little further north. So what we're going to see happen is some of the areas that might initially start as freezing rain will just change over to plain old cold rain, but still probably a good idea to avoid travel because there still could be a couple icy spots. And then by the time the precipitation winds down, that freezing line is well to the north on Saturday. So if you need to run errands on Saturday morning, you're going to be just fine. Even in the areas that see a little bit of ice, any ice is going to quickly go away because temperatures will be well above freezing by 8 a.m. on Saturday.
And what you talked about as far as the winter weather advisory was Columbus County, Bladen County, and Pender County.
Correct.
Brunswick and New Hanover County, you talked earlier tonight. You think that the temperatures are going to be maybe freezing or a little higher. So the aspect of a winter weather advisory there is why they're not included.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think the Weather Service is thinking the exact same thing. It's likely the temperature might be here in Wilmington 33, 34 degrees. That's probably will be our lowest temperature. That'll probably occur around 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. And so at that point, even if you have precipitation falling, it's not going to freeze. It's just going to be a plain old cold rain, John.
Okay, we have a couple of questions here. Eric, I'm going to take one. Alex wants to know, is it going to stick since it won't be below freezing for such a short time? So what we get, whether it's in Bladen County, Columbus County, Pender, in the form of snowflakes, in the form of maybe some freezing rain, is it going to stick around?
A little bit of light accumulation for a brief time, I do think is a possibility, which is why we have the winter weather advisory in effect. But travel is obviously primarily what the National Weather Service is concerned about when they're issuing the winter weather advisory. They're really concerned about some glazing or icing. I still think that's going to be the big issue. Again, could some snowflakes fall? Could there be some very light accumulation? Theoretically, it is possible. I just don't think the snow is going to be heavy enough and the temperature is just not quite cold enough for us to really see a significant snow.
Well, and even this, let's put this back up again. Now, this is 8 o'clock Saturday. You were talking earlier, and we talked on the newscast tonight. A lot of North Carolina are going to see impacts from this storm. Look at Greenville, look at Raleigh, look at Greensboro, Charlotte. That's they're going to get it later than we're going to get it, right?
Well, they're going to have a prolonged period of temperatures below freezing. So we could be talking about legitimate, significant snow in some of these areas. We could be talking about widespread 2 to 4 inch snowfall totals. So I don't think there's enough moisture to produce a blizzard or anything like that, or super heavy snowfall totals. But yeah, 2 to 4 inches of snow, very likely in a lot of North Carolina. Maybe an inch or so around Greenville. I could see maybe 2 inches around Raleigh. Same thing, Charlotte, and then maybe up to about 4 inches as you start getting into the mountains.
So anybody that had travel plans for Friday night into Saturday, or even Saturday into Saturday evening and Sunday, might want to rethink depending on where they're going, or at least keep an eye on the roads.
Well, the good news is even in these areas on Saturday, the precipitation is going to end very early in the day, and even in a lot of these areas, I think temperatures are going to start to get above the freezing mark. So I would expect, especially as we get into Sunday, travel shouldn't be an issue really probably anywhere in North Carolina.
Okay, we have had, again, I'm monitoring our Facebook feed over here on this computer. I've got audio here. I've got Eric and I here. Many people, again, Wilmington, coastal Pender County, Bolivia in Brunswick County, mostly going to be at this point in time, because you can never say definite, but mostly looking at a rain event, maybe with some mixture.
Right, and you might have a snowflake or a sleet pellet mixing with the rain, but this is primarily, if you're in New Hanover County, Brunswick County, this is primarily going to just be a cold rain. You're probably just looking at wet roadways. Not a huge issue if you're just traveling locally.
But then if you get into the Boltons, the Whitevilles, the Elizabethtowns, Burgaw, Harrells, up toward Duplin County, that's where we have to really keep an eye out for some of the more, I don't want to say heavier, but the more serious mixture of wintry precipitation.
Right, it probably won't be a serious mixture, but again, when you're talking about freezing rain, it doesn't take much to cause a problem. Just a little bit of ice can be a huge problem because, there's no traction with ice. So even if you just pick up a little bit of ice or a little bit of glazing, that could be enough to cause some big problems, and that's the concern.
Okay, another reminder while we have a second or two. 2 school systems have reached out to us to let us know what plans are as far as class schedules for tomorrow. Bladen County operating on remote learning tomorrow, all Bladen County public schools. Sampson County officials reached out to us. They're going to dismiss 2 hours early in Sampson County public schools. All of our other area school systems, New Hanover, Pender, Brunswick, and Columbus, they've canceled all after-school activities. Nothing going on through Saturday, at least at noon. But nothing with the schedules with those. The only schedule impact, Bladen County, remote learning tomorrow. Sampson County, early dismissal. Let's go back over here. Rockingham inland, as folks start to get Rockingham, Cumberland County areas, Eric.
Yeah, Cumberland County under winter weather advisor, so obviously you could be talking about more significant icing there, maybe even a little bit of snow possibly coming down as you start to get into Cumberland County. And then as you head further to the north and west, you're going to have probably a mixed bag of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Really is going to be kind of a mess in central and western North Carolina, kind of all modes of wintry precipitation possible.
And I did get a question here from Cheryl. She's asking, what about Saturday night after everything is through, even the inland areas, inland Pender County, Bladen, and Columbus County? Saturday evening, what things are going to look like?
I think we're going to be fine Saturday night because the precipitation is going to end so early on Saturday. Everything's going to dry out. So, and like I said, we're not talking about much ice. We're talking about a very small amount of maybe glazing or very light icing. And once the sun comes up, probably Saturday morning, probably about 8, 9 o'clock, everything should melt, and we should be in the clear at that point.
And there's going to be a sunny day on Saturday, pretty much, right?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And temperatures are going to be close to 50 degrees, too, on Saturday afternoon. So one of the milder days we've seen in the last couple of days.
So if anything does drop, it should dry out by another time.
Yep.
What about Eric? Let's say right here, Onslow County. A question about Onslow County, our friends up in Sneads Ferry, Jacksonville, up that way.
Again, you're in the winter weather advisory, so you're going to be talking about, same as probably northern Pender County, talking about the possibility of some very light icing. Again, I don't think we would see much snow or maybe a snowflake coming down, maybe a sleet pellet missing in, but I think the primary concern would be light icing or glazing with the freezing rain. That's going to be the big concern.
Driving on I-40 to Duplin County, probably not advised. Somebody is asking, probably not advised for Friday night.
If you want to make it simple, I think if traveling across North Carolina in general, probably not going to be the best idea unless you're driving locally, maybe New Hanover, Brunswick County for either Friday evening or Friday. I think that's the big time frame to be concerned about, Friday evening and Friday night through the overnight hours. Once we get into early Saturday morning, sun comes up, precipitation's over, and I think we're going to be mostly in the clear at that point.
Sharon wants to know, when will the wintry weather start in the Whiteville area? When will they start seeing that? Before we get it down here at the coast?
A little bit. It's hard to say exactly, but we do know the winter weather advisory goes into effect at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's probably a good guidepost. The winter weather advisory starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It ends at 7 o'clock on Saturday. So use that kind of as your guidepost as you're planning what to do.
Right. And any activities that you're planning, 4 o'clock Friday afternoon to 7 o'clock Saturday morning, that's when the advisory is in place.
Yeah.
And Eric, I see you have up here, you have a snowfall model here.
Yeah, which I thought people might be interested in what's going on in other parts of the state. So again, this is just one model, may not tell you exactly, but it gives you a sense of what we're going to be dealing with. Yes, a few snowflakes even here in southeastern North Carolina. It's not going to amount to much. If you're talking about real snow, we're talking about an inch or more. You start to see it around Greenville. You can see maybe a couple of inches around Charlotte and Raleigh, and maybe even up to 3, 4, up to 5 inches of snow potentially in the mountains. And of course, we'll localize it here. Again, we go ahead and take a look at it. Again, not much locally here. Again, a few flakes falling. It's not going to amount to much, and probably a lot of this would probably melt on contact with temperatures very close to the freezing mark. But here's what we really want to focus in on. It's the ice.
Right.
The ice. This is what's going to be the real problem with this particular winter storm. The snowfall totals, even in other parts of the state, aren't going to be all that high. But when you're talking about any kind of ice, or especially as you start talking about a tenth or even up to a quarter of an inch of ice, that is a serious problem. And look at that. This is why the winter weather advisory was issued. You can start to see, you can almost look at it, Columbus County, Bladen County, Onslow County, and then the more significant icing probably occurring between Raleigh and Wilmington. So this is why you would not want to travel on I-40, for instance, tomorrow evening. Now, again, I think things will quickly improve on Saturday, but Friday night, Friday evening, that is not the time to be traveling on I-40, or if you're heading towards the Charlotte, forget it. The ice is going to be a real problem, I think, during this time frame.
Several hours of treacherous conditions on the state roads here.
Yeah, if you want to localize it here, we can show you the ice. Again, this might not be exactly how it turns out, but it gives you a rough guidepost of where the significant icing is going to be. You can see here in Wilmington, not much ice, not much in Brunswick County. A little bit possibly in Columbus County, but again, it starts to get a little more significant as you get particularly into northern Pender County, Bladen County, and you're talking about some pretty serious ice, even in Duplin County, over a quarter of an inch of ice, Sampson County, and even maybe northwestern portions of Onslow County could be looking at some very significant icing before all is said and done.
Okay, we've got a couple of folks on the Facebook live chat kind of poking fun that we need to go out and buy milk and stock up on toilet paper.
We said at the top you don't
folks,
need to.
We've stressed this. This is not going to be one of those storms where you have to go out and buy bread and buy milk. But this is one of those instances where if it deserves a winter weather advisory, that's why we're on here, just to give folks an idea.
Yeah.
4 o'clock Friday afternoon to 7 o'clock Saturday morning. Those are going to be times when you're really going to watch where you're going if you have to go in.
Yeah, and in most of the state, you're going to want to be indoors during this time. I mean, again, the one my exception, if you're driving around maybe Wilmington or Brunswick County, maybe just a cold rain, but most of the rest of the state, I think you want to be indoors during this time because that's when the winter storm is going to be at its height.
Okay, and we could get a mixture. Let's go over your graphics one more time, Eric. Give everybody one more synopsis of everything you have with this storm. Yeah. We'll start with the ice model here, but run through time frame and everything else that you have.
Okay, I don't know if I have an order, but we can kind of see what we have. We can always circle back to a few of these if we need to. Okay. Here's another one.
Yep, here's a good one.
Yeah, this is a good one. This gives you a sense, and again, we're working our way basically from Southport, Brunswick County up towards Raleigh, and you can see Southport maybe around 5 when this initially starts, maybe a little bit of freezing rain initially, but a very quick changeover to all rain. Same thing basically in Wilmington. That's why these areas are not in the winter weather advisory. Again, the green indicates the rain. You can see mostly rain here in Wilmington. But as you start to get up into Bladen County, Elizabethtown, a little more prolonged period, maybe even a little bit of snow initially, and then a quick change over to that freezing rain that we've talked about through about 11 p.m. And then overnight, even in Bladen County, we're probably going to change over to rain. Fayetteville, longer period of that icing, and then Raleigh, by the time you start to get up to Raleigh, you're talking about maybe a couple of inches of snow followed by a period of sleet and freezing rain, so much more serious problems as you get up towards the Triangle area. Okay,
and again, you said that this is a pretty good generator here. 5 o'clock Friday is when some of those things are going to be starting. Your cloud and precip model here. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, let's go ahead and kind of share the timing of this. This kind of brings it all together here. And again, I want to emphasize the majority of tomorrow is actually going to be dry. You can see 7 a.m., nothing going on when you first wake up in the morning. We'll see clouds increasing, but Finally, by about 3 p.m., even through 3 p.m., we're not expecting much. So most of tomorrow is going to be dry. But late afternoon, you can see right about the time that winter weather advisory starts, you see some of that pink beginning to move in. That's the freezing rain. Potentially moving into Columbus, Bladen County. Notice a little bit of snow, particularly even maybe initially here around Elizabethtown, northern portions of Bladen. Snow's not going to stick around long. It may be just a very quick shot here, maybe into northern Pender County as well. But some wintry mix, again, some freezing rain, certainly a possibility. Here in Wilmington, you can see by 9 or 10 p.m., notice the green color starting to move in. That's the what we call the warm nose. That's going to push the temperature well above the freezing mark here in Wilmington. And even probably in Pender County and Columbus County, we'll start to change over to all just a cold rain by that point. Bladen County, you hold on to the frozen precipitation a little bit longer, and this system's going to exit pretty quickly. You can even see by Saturday morning as you wake up, things are quieting down. We'll have sunshine Saturday morning. This is going to quickly dry things out. Plenty of wind, too. That'll also help to dry things out very quickly during the day Saturday.
And you said earlier, a good thing to keep in mind is the winter weather advisory runs from 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Friday, to 7 o'clock Saturday morning. After that, conditions will improve.
Quickly, yes.
Quickly. And so by noon, the roads may be clearer. You might want to give yourself a little bit extra time. But again, that's a good guidepost. And we'll have a better idea tonight at 10 and 11 o'clock. Yeah. And again, tomorrow you'll have even more information.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, as the system actually gets underway. But I think we've got a good idea. I mean, if you've got outdoor plans on Saturday, it's going to be a little bit breezy. But I think your outdoor plans are going to be fine on Saturday. It's really just Friday evening, Friday night that you've really got to hunker down.
Okay, one more time. Let's review. Bladen County Schools tomorrow. They are operating on remote learning. Students and staff in Bladen County Schools tomorrow, remote learning. Sampson County Schools, they are dismissing 2 hours early. They are the only two public school systems we've heard from that are doing any adjustments to the in-class school schedules. Other school systems, New Hanover, Pender, Brunswick, Columbus, most of the after-school events and activities are canceled through noon on Saturday. We have more of this on our website, WECT.com, and our news app. Of course, Eric and I will be back tonight at 10 o'clock. We'll give you the very latest in this. And if anything changes, obviously we'll have it on our website as well.
Absolutely. We'll keep you updated and also follow the WECT weather app as well.
Okay. Thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live. We appreciate you being here. Hope we answered some of your questions. And we will see you tonight on WECT News at 10 and again at 11 o'clock.